The headlines say Vietnam has taken Japan's place in semiconductor packaging. But the real story is very different. Vietnam did not steal anything from Japan. Japan slowly moved away from that part of the industry many years ago. And now, in a small city in Hokkaido that most people outside Japan have never heard about, the same generation that watched Japan lose the chip battle in the 1980s is quietly trying to bring the country back into the race. The man leading this effort is Tetsuro Higashi. He was once the head of Tokyo Electron, one of the world's most important semiconductor equipment companies. The machines made by Tokyo Electron are used to build chips found in almost every modern electronic device. In the summer of 2020, Higashi received a phone call connected to IBM. The proposal was simple but massive. Japan could gain access to 2-nanometer semiconductor technology, one of the most advanced manufacturing processes ever created. Higashi agreed immediately. Then, he contacted Atsuyoshi Koike, the former president of Western Digital Japan. Two experienced veterans, both long past normal retirement age, decided to launch a completely new company with no factory, no customers, and no history. Their goal was much bigger than business. They wanted Japan to return to the center of the semiconductor industry after more than 30 years of decline. This story is not only about technology. It is also about money, strategy, and control over the future of artificial intelligence. Many people believe Vietnam's semiconductor growth is proof that Japan has already lost. Huge factories are opening across Vietnam. Amcor built a massive $1.6 billion facility in Bac Ninh. Hanamicron expanded operations in Bac Giang. Intel invested heavily in Ho Chi Minh City with advanced packaging and testing facilities. Looking at those numbers, many analysts outside Asia think Vietnam is replacing Japan in the global semiconductor industry. But that conclusion misses the deeper picture. In July 2025, a press conference was held in Chitose, Hokkaido. Higashi and Koike stood beside local officials and revealed a silicon wafer containing 2-nanometer transistors, the first advanced chips of this level ever produced in Japan. Their target is mass production by 2027. Behind the project stands a powerful group of investors and partners, including Toyota, Sony, Honda, NTT, SoftBank, Canon, NEC, and Kioxia. The Japanese government itself owns a major share of the project and has committed billions of dollars in support. Outside Japan, however, many people still focus on Vietnam. They see Amcor's huge Bac Ninh facility, one of the largest packaging plants in the world. They see Hanamicron's expansion plans and Intel's operations in Vietnam. To them, Vietnam looks like the next semiconductor giant, while Japan appears old and fading. But they are looking at the wrong part of the industry. To understand what is really happening, you have to go back to 1986, one of the most painful years in Japanese industrial history. During the 1980s, Japan dominated semiconductors. NEC, Hitachi, and Toshiba were among the biggest chip companies on Earth. Japanese firms controlled over half of the global semiconductor market. The United States, despite inventing the transistor, had fallen behind Japan in several key areas. Then came the U.S.-Japan Semiconductor Agreement in 1986. The United States placed heavy pressure on Japan, including tariffs and trade demands designed to open Japan's domestic market to foreign competitors. Over time, Japanese companies lost market share. By the 1990s and 2000s, many famous Japanese semiconductor firms disappeared, merged together, or collapsed under foreign competition. Elpida Memory, once seen as Japan's hope for recovery, eventually went bankrupt and was purchased by Micron from the United States. From the outside, it looked like Japan had completely lost the chip war. But something important happened behind the scenes. Instead of fighting directly in low-margin memory chips and labor-heavy manufacturing, Japanese companies moved into the deeper layers of the semiconductor supply chain. They focused on the machines, chemicals, materials, and components that every advanced chip maker depends on. Today, Japan still controls critical parts of the global semiconductor ecosystem. Japanese firms dominate the market for silicon wafers, advanced photoresists, specialty chemicals, and semiconductor manufacturing equipment. Without these materials, companies like TSMC, NVIDIA, Samsung, and Intel cannot build their most advanced chips. One surprising example is Ajinomoto, a company most people associate with food products and MSG seasoning. Ajinomoto also produces a material called ABF, or Ajinomoto buildup film. This material is essential for advanced chip packaging used in modern CPUs, GPUs, and AI processors. There are very few alternatives available at the same level of quality and scale. This is why many experts believe Japan never truly abandoned semiconductors. Instead, Japan shifted into the most profitable and hardest to replace parts of the industry while letting other countries handle lower margin assembly work. That is where Vietnam enters the story. Vietnam is growing rapidly in assembly, packaging, and testing. These are important parts of semiconductor manufacturing, but they are still mainly back-end operations. Most major semiconductor facilities in Vietnam are owned by foreign corporations, including American and Korean companies. Vietnam benefits through jobs, investment, and industrial growth, but much of the technology and profits still belong to companies based elsewhere. Vietnam's government has ambitious plans for the future, including training tens of thousands of semiconductor engineers and building a larger domestic chip industry over the coming decades. The country's rise is real and important. But Japan is playing a completely different game. Japan is trying to return to the highest level of semiconductor production with advanced 2-nanometer manufacturing technology. If projects like Rapidus succeed, Japan could once again become one of the few countries on Earth capable of producing the world's most advanced chips from beginning to end. For Japan, this is about much more than economics. It is about technological independence, industrial power, and national pride. Vietnam is rising fast, but Japan is quietly rebuilding itself in areas of the industry that most people never see. While headlines focus on giant factories and billion-dollar investments in Southeast Asia, Japan is concentrating on the materials, tools, and advanced technologies that make the entire semiconductor world possible. And that may end up being far more important in the long run.